What makes us resilient? What makes some people continue to pursue their goals and dreams in spite of roadblocks or challenges? What if all we needed was an opportunity? Imagine if we trusted our talents, our abilities, and our strengths, then took a chance on ourselves. FutureProof is a Cincinnati State faculty and student-created podcast where students, alumni, and employers share adventures in learning outside of the classroom. We hope you will cheer, cry, and laugh along the way as we share our students' stories of resiliency and overcoming the odds. Find out what happens when we finally stop saying no and start saying yes.
Hello, we are picking up today from last week's episode where we were interviewing Kimheart Moeung about how he went from being on Randy Jackson's School of Dance to becoming principal of Butler Tech.
But here you are, you get this gig, you're co-oping, and then, then what happens? What do you end up doing with your degree? Because let me tell you, listeners, he is he is a principal now. So we're going to get there, but
we'll get there.
I don't know.
Hang on tight.
It's crazy.
Oh yeah, so I mean, even the last term I was here co-oping, I had like one more class, and I was planning on going to Wilmington College's program that is actually at Cincinnati State. The Cincinnati branch is for Wilmington College.
Yes.
It was a great transition at that time for me. I had no clue that I could get a bachelor's degree. I was like, there's no way I'm going to a traditional college and trying to get a job and working and doing all these things. So associate's degree or bust, that was it for me, right? So the last term I was here, we had an adjunct instructor at that time, had a close tie with Fox 19, WXIX down in Cincinnati. And I was like the 7th co-op in line, right? I was like the last guy to join, right? He literally had the interview like set up. He was like, "Hey Kim, I got you an interview." I was like, "Me? Why me?" He's like, "Well, because you hustle and you're ready to be out there." I was
hungry.
Like, okay. And for me, I was trying to be humble and all these things, but I'm really proud of myself for that moment because I feel like it was like, all right, cool. Well, people notice, and I was like, and oftentimes you question yourself, like, do people actually notice the work I'm putting in right now?
Yeah.
Right? They're long nights working. The day shift and then coming to night school and doing more homework at night and just being tired all the freaking time, right? So I got the interview and man, I was like, I am not getting this job because it was like open and it was like 2 other candidates, one from UC and another one from NKU. And I was like, oh, here we go. Like I got an associate's degree.
Right.
Here we go. And I'm already out. I'm like, gosh, man, like I feel so defeated before I even get there. But then they called me back. They called me back for a second interview, and essentially it was a test. A test at Fox 19. It was they had a commercial that was kinetic typography. All right, shout out to Joe Bosom. Yeah, shout out to Joe Bosom. I literally did that class and had I knew how to
You had just taken this class.
Yeah, I just taken the class, and when I was doing the interview, I was following along and taking the VO and actually creating my own graphics and everything. And they were really impressed that this guy with an associate's degree knew more about After Effects at this time.
Yeah.
And After Effects is nothing to sniff at. It was like After Effects 3 back then. Like it was fairly new, right? So I feel like without Cincinnati State, I would have never landed that job at Fox 19. And man, I've created more than 700 commercials while I was there.
Wow.
And I had a Super Bowl commercial because Fox 19 had the Super Bowl there. Yeah. And we actually made one for the news anchors and everything. And it was cool. I was texting all my, my family members, hey man, check out this commercial. I made it. And it was just cool. Everything was full circle. It was just nostalgic. It was, again, I don't think there's any coincidence, being a man of faith myself, but there's no coincidence. Everything happens for a reason.
I tell students there are no accidents.
Yeah, no accidents.
There are no accidents.
No accidents. So, man, I just couldn't believe it. I could not believe it.
And I love that because we hear this all the time. I mean, I hear this all the time from employers that, our students, that they're hungry. They're out there, they're working, they bring so much to the organization. And it's a surprise sometimes to employers that, wow, I have these UC students, or I have no disrespect to UC, but they've have students from these other 4-year schools, and they take a chance, and partner with Cincinnati State, and they're just blown away by the talent and the energy and the knowledge, that those students bring.
I think I describe it as like having a chip on your shoulder, man, and that's the most dangerous person, not in a bad way, the most driven person.
No.
And probably the most valuable person in any team is somebody who has a chip on their shoulder. They have something to prove. and they're hungry to do good work.
Yep.
Right.
They have, I think hungry is a good word.
Yeah.
They have grit and heart.
Yeah. Like Braveheart.
Kimheart.
Braveheart.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. So you leave Fox.
Yeah.
And you go into your more private industry.
Yeah.
You're hustling. You're working.
Yeah. It's.
How do you get back to education? Because I feel like, you walked into Cincinnati State and suddenly, this disconnect you had with education, you were like, no, this is real to me. I can do this. This is the thing. But then you get back to.
Again, no coincidences, man. So I am at Fox 19 working, and at the time I'm going to night school and Saturdays at Wilmington College at the time, getting my bachelor's. So Mr. Dave Killen, shout out to Dave Killen. He's the Obi-Wan of AVP.
Obi-Wan.
You heard it here today. He's the Obi-Wan. He says, Kimheart, I think I need you to come teach this After Effects class. I said, huh? What happened to Joe? Well, Joe is moving overseas. I was like, oh. And I've never taught a class. My first major was music education, and I was like, I still have never taught a class before. What do I do? But the best part was the first term that I came to teach night classes here at Cincinnati State on the ATLC 4th floor. Joe Bosom was kind of like a mentor teacher at that time. Yeah. He hadn't left yet, so he was like there to help me out and transition me. And he gave me free reign to kind of like change different labs, change different projects, put my own spin on things. And I'm forever grateful for that opportunity. And I started teaching college classes at 25 years old. Wow. I was 25 years old.
Yeah.
And at the time, it was just crazy to me because there's this 2-time college flunk out that's teaching classes now. But my biggest thing I instilled in a lot of my students was like, hey, I was sitting where you were. You can do this. Like the next step is like not far away. Yeah. Especially it was a 200 level class. They were pretty much done after me, right? So I started teaching, and I was realizing like the different stories that I got to like witness from different people. There were people twice my age in class. Yes. There were people fresh out of high school. But they were all driven in the same way, right? So we did a lot of things. It was cool because I was working at Fox 19, and then I transitioned over to Champion Windows, which is manufacturing and private, And I was their senior video designer at the time. And I can go in class and say, hey, here's this commercial that's about to air in the Bengals game this weekend. I want to show you guys what I did. Like, how cool, right?
Yes,
I was like, okay, yes, and we did lower third animations and basic animations and like the 2D stuff.
That makes up for being 25. I mean, when you walk in and you're like, here's the Bengals commercial, I think they're going to probably, start listening.
And in education, anytime you get in there, you feel like this anxiety or the stress of having to prove yourself too much, right. Like, but I was very welcoming. Like I was just very straightforward with them. Like I did this program and I think you guys can do it too, right? So
what was it like to get the call from Dave Killen to say, hey, Kimheart, we want you to come back to this place and teach this class?
Like you feel like a young Padawan or a young Jedi that's ready for the call up, man. Like there's probably a handful of people that no matter what time they call, you must pick up the phone. Dave Killen is one of those people for me. Dave Killen is one of those people for me. And he really, because I wasn't the perfect student. I wasn't. And sometimes I wouldn't show up to class and all these different things. And he would get on me and say, hey, you need to be here. And
everybody needs somebody like that in their life.
A little tough love, man. Accountability.
Holds them accountable. Yeah. It's a mentor.
Yeah. So he called and I had to answer just like this, right?
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Anytime he calls, I answer. It's not even a question. I don't even think the email was in my mailbox for like 30 seconds.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't. We knew. We could tell.
Yeah.
So is that adjuncting for Cincinnati State? Is that what got you back into education?
Yeah.
And your goal, and because now you're a principal of Butler Tech School of the Arts.
School of the Arts. School of the Arts.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a big oasis up there. It's awesome.
So you're
awesome.
So what made that shift for you of, you're not in LA, making film or you're not in New York.
Yeah.
He is still hip hop dancing.
He is. We've heard about that. We wish we had video today. But what made the shift for you to say, hey, I want to be in education?
I guess I think you guys know what that is. I found my new drug. It was the new high that I felt when honestly, like, someone's light bulb went off, like the hypothetical, right? It's just metaphorically speaking, their light bulb goes off, or they email you like a year later, like, hey, yo, I just landed this job, man. Thank you for this. I literally did this. People were like, students are still sending me old projects they're doing right now. Some of them are like art directors now. It's just, I'm so proud. Like that is that new drug you feel, right? It's like that. It's that gratitude. It's exhausted elation that you get, right? It's just like that thing that you live for. Like when you are tired, you chug that coffee, you get your butt to work, right? That's how I got me. Yeah, and man, and when I was at Champion Windows, I had an opportunity. Xavier University reached out to me, and they had like this digital technologist job. I ended up not getting it, but one of the panelists was Bliss DeVault. Shout out to Bliss, she's amazing. She was like, "Hey, Kimheart, I want you to teach at Xavier University." I said, "What? Are you serious? This is amazing." Yeah. So yes, absolutely. So I was teaching night classes there and here at the same time. I was like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday night online classes. It was just amazing, right? I got a chance to be to work on a documentary with the entire faculty of Xavier's DIF program, which is Digital Innovative Film and Television. Nice. But oftentimes I would refer and say, hey, there's this person at Cincinnati State you need to see. I need you to like talk to them and then do all these different things. But it was kind of nice.
Connections.
Yeah, and it was a different demographic, man. All my students were under 21.
Yeah.
And they're 20 years old, 19 years old, and there was a level of grit that I was kind of missing.
Yes.
And no offense to anybody. I mean, you don't really get the grit until you've been through it, right?
Right.
And at a traditional university, it was like, all right, cool. Well, these guys are doing their work. They're doing some great work, actually. And it was like I was kind of missing that X factor, right?
Yes.
So I tried my best. I did everything I could in my being to teach like full time, whether that was professorship or anything like that. But I didn't have my master's, so I did like any nerd does my research. How do I
Did you
get there?
Google that?
Yeah.
How
How to get a master's degree paid for?
Yeah.
Oftentimes you got to work for somebody, right? So there's this awesome school, Butler Tech, that I work for now. That has.
I say shout out to Butler.
Shout out to Butler Tech.
And you said School of the Arts because I think that's we don't always think about technical schools or technical colleges being focused on the arts, you know, but it's a School of the Arts. And did you step into that, or was that something that you've helped create and make bigger, this whole idea of the arts being technical, right? Because we think of the arts as liberal arts and, you major in that and you're not going to make any money. You're not going to do any, right? You hear all that. But you have really worked hard to convince parents, trust your kid, trust their skill, trust their interest in this area, and let them do something that makes them happy. And you can make a living as well. You can turn that into... Right?
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
Can't monetize that.
Absolutely. And you can't really put a price tag on some of that thing, some of that, right? So I tell my young creative people, again, we go back to the genocide that happened in Cambodia. What did you have to be? Educated and artistic. The reason why is because they were seen as a threat because they could influence people.
Sure.
They could absolutely influence they can move people with their creativity, right? So I tell my young people all the time that, you're in traditional high schools. I can't speak on any high schools around the area, but in traditional high schools overall, the first thing that goes
is the arts.
The arts. They'll cut an art class before they would cut a football team, and that's the reality of it. Monetary wise, it's the reality of it. So when they come, a lot of times I tell parents like, hey, we're more of a business of the entertainment school, like business of entertainment school, business of the arts, because our students have to take a business and arts and communication class where they learn different things like financial responsibility. Financial literacy, right? They learn customer service. We got the front of the house, the back of the house, all these different things. We're a small entity, and the kids literally learn from the lights, the sound, being on stage, costumes, dancing, visual artists. They actually go out and do murals and all these things, and they have to learn how to talk to people, right? They have to be a customer service representative. And even if you're an introvert, like a visual artist that likes to paint all day, if you don't open your mouth, you're not going to book a gig or book a mural.
You got to promote yourself.
You got to promote yourself, right? So we get our kids. We're doing a new program where they all have a website and a resume by the time they leave. Google Sites. Check out Google Sites. They're doing some crazy stuff right now. It's free. Google Sites is awesome.
Google Sites.
Google Sites. Put your
This
resume
podcast
on
is
there.
sponsored by Google Sites.
Yeah, I wish. That'd be awesome. I'd be drinking like gold in my
Gold flakes.
coffee right now.
Gold flake coffee.
Yes.
Is that a thing?
Yeah,
it wasn't alcohol.
Well, you know what? I'm actually upset you guys don't have gold
I'm
flakes in this
sorry.
coffee.
Yeah. I'm
You know, so
sorry.
I'm going to go ahead and leave right
Gold
now.
flakes.
I'll work on my budget, Kimheart.
You
I'll
got
work
it.
on my budget.
Let's put it on Dave Killen's tab, man. We'll be right.
Oh,
That's
okay.
right.
Yeah.
All right. That's right. Okay, I'll get that budget line.
Yes.
It just, you went from a genocide where they were murdering people with the skill set that you have to now leading students in a whole high school and educating them into putting them into business. That's just, I mean, that's amazing.
Yes,
That's amazing.
Truly fortunate and blessed every day. Every day I wake up and it's literally like a second home, man. It's not for the faint of heart. You learn a lot of things about kids, home life.
Yeah.
And you know, you learn about things that you don't want to learn about them. So you know, it's like having 200 kids of your own, right? You guys know that. And then the thing is, we put ourselves through this because at some point they graduate, you know, and we get a new bunch of kids. That's fine, but we put ourselves through saying, I mean, essentially farewell every year. I mean, so I'm sure you guys see that in the co-op program. You literally like the last face they see at this place, and there has to be some kind of like pressure that you guys feel like, what happens if they don't get something right away, right?
I wake up. I used to have the dream when I was a server, you know, and I'd be like, I woke up, I never brought table 4 cash up, you know, and now I have the dream that. Did I send that resume out? Did I make that? Did the student make that connection? I think about these things, and this is what's so cool about the work that you're doing is that you never know the seed that you're planting, right? You get an email from a student that you haven't heard from in 3 years, and they're like, "Hey, I just want to let you know I got into law school." And you're like, "What?" You know,
exactly.
You're thinking like, you know, the situation you saw them in, and then where they go with this talent and this degree, and they get out there. And you're doing that. You're seeing that with your students. What does your family say? What do your parents say? I mean, you came back, music note tattoo on your neck,
lip piercing, cartilage
on the
piercing,
piercings,
like gauged ears at the time.
And you know, what do they think now? You're a high school principal. They've got to be like, what? You know, is this allowed? What? This is only in America, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. You know, it's you know, with my folks, it's like they're very traditional Cambodian parents, and they're just like, good job.
Yeah.
That's I know the nod, right? It's fine. You know, it's like, you know, people would be like, oh man, you know, like, you know, but honestly, they expected greatness out of us.
Yes.
And we're answering the call.
You're living
right?
up to their expectation.
Living up to the expectation, and you know, my dad, my dad's a tough guy, right? Real tough guy. And when I told him I'd be a principal, he's like, huh? A principal? How? I was like, well, a lot of stuff's happened in the last 10 years. Let me tell you about it. And he's like, okay, cool. Well, you know, and you know, it's just I'm very grateful for it. I think because my dad was so tough on me and my mom was so tough on me in school, I went through my trials and tribulations of essentially like, you know, tasting freedom for the first time and doing all these things. And I really got my stuff together. I got my butt back in school. Like my brother asked me to, because whatever my brother says, I listen to him. And
your brother and Dave Killen.
Yes, yeah, you got Obi-Wan and Han Solo, man. Yeah, for real.
Well, and Dave said something really cool that you said to him when you picked up that phone that quickly or responded to that email. He said, Kimheart said something that we do all the time here. You know, Jayne waking up in the middle of the night and you know, running resumes, driving resumes places, and just, you know, really wanting to help students get to that next level, whatever that is, to remove obstacles. But he said, you said to him, you know, you set the table for me and I just sat at it. Yep. And we, you know, the table is set here at Cincinnati State. It really is.
It is.
But not everybody does what you do and take advantage, you know, and Dave Killen even said, you know, some people won't even sit at the table. Some people will graze at the table. Some people leave midway through and some people stay the whole time.
Some people are afraid of the meal and afraid of the opportunity.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that fascinates me as an educator is, you know, what is it that drives people? What is it that, you know, what's happening that person reaches a point where they're like, you know what, I'm just going for it. Yeah. Our person we interviewed last week said, if I tried to look at the entire staircase, it was too overwhelming. So I just took the step in front of me, you know. And at what point do you feel like you said, all right, I'm doing this. This is happening.
Oh,
like
man.
I'm here.
I will say, when you hear on the first day, like, you know, of course, Mike Tekulve did not say this, right? But the students in the programs are, oh, you got the Widowmaker?
Oh,
I was
yeah.
like, huh? So you got the Widowmaker?
Yeah.
I was like, what do you mean? And this man, like I said, shout out to Mike. What's up,
He's
man?
right
You see him
there.
right there?
He's right there looking.
Yeah, still one of my favorite people to this day. I don't hesitate to call him if I need to. But man, I tell you what, after failing so many classes for not showing up, after a while you tell yourself you're dumb.
Yes. Right.
And I knew I was just making poor choices at that time. But coming here, like I look young, so they thought I was just a traditional student. But then we realized like I was in my mid-20s coming here after all these different trials and tribulations. I got to share my story with the instructors and everything. Like I felt like they were invested.
Yeah.
And after like literally passing that audio class, because before then I got to take like English and,
Yeah.
you know,
Right.
science and all that. And of course the FYE. Shout out to the FYE class, you know what I'm saying?
All
You know,
right.
first year experience class. Man, I was like, okay, cool. All right, I survived. I'm good. And then here comes the Widowmaker.
Oh yeah.
So really the first step into you want to be serious about audio video production, take this class.
Right.
You want to be serious, or do you want to like, you know, tell everybody you're in audio video production? Like those are two
Right.
different
You're gonna
types of
play around
students.
on YouTube, or are
Right.
you gonna get serious?
Yeah, you want to create your own beats and stuff on GarageBand and only do that and
Yeah.
not learn the industry. Go for it, right? But man, it that class upped my game. I felt intelligent speaking about the things that were in that class. I felt intelligent again.
Well,
And that's hard too, because when you speak your dream and you say it out loud, it's real.
Yeah.
Right. And when
Yeah.
you tell somebody else about it. And we have that experience when we're talking to students and they say, this is what I want to do. I want to go to law school. And we're like, all right, well, you got to meet somebody who's a lawyer. You got to get it. And they look at us like, wait, what? Serious? Right now? Now? Yes. We're not waiting for 10 years. Your life starts
Do
now.
it now. Do it now.
And that's scary. It's scary and exciting. But a lot of students, they see that and instead of going towards it, they go away from it, right? Because the fear of, you know, of success can be greater than the fear of failure sometimes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
one of the things that you've been known to say is that one of the keys to your success has been to make really good friendships.
Yeah.
And keep on going. And so these Widowmaker teachers,
Yeah.
and there is he there? Where did he go? Did he leave? But these people who brought you in, Dave Killen, Mike Tekulve, you're still friends with them.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
And so what other things do you attribute your success to?
Again, like I said, I just had I think that, you know, there's people like it's like I would say it's the credit score that you really got to pay attention to, not like financial credit score. It's more about reputation. If people
Wow.
think
Your
you're
image.
lazy, if people think you're lazy or not willing to work with groups, I mean, if people are lying to themselves when they say they're independent and self-made. I only did this by myself.
No, nobody does that.
Yeah, I was at the Anthony Munoz Foundation with my students recently. They did a youth seminar, and Anthony Munoz says, "Hey, you know when that a music artist or that person who's in the Hall of Fame, people that you think they're self-made, they're independent, they worked and did it all by themselves. What is the first thing they do? They have a long list of people they thank.
Yes.
I have a long list because of this place. I still thank them to this day. I still attribute like changing my life, and people are like they don't want to take the credit for it because they're humble.
Right.
But at the end of the day, like people didn't know at the time, and as an educator, that they were changing someone's life, right? And that's the drug we look for, right? That's the thing. That's the thing that gives us that emotional like uplift. Like hey, my job is beneficial. It's worth something, right? And some of the relationships I made in Cincinnati State, it landed me some freelance jobs like recently,
Yes.
right? So you know, I got a chance to work on some cool stuff. I have a non-disclosure agreement with some companies named after fruit.
All
right.
right.
Yes, a singular fruit.
All right.
Yes, and the guy that ran that place, his name is Steve. You know, so I can say that much.
I love this.
Yeah, and I got a call from my buddy Jake. Oh man, Jake Dressman, shout out. He's doing awesome like contracting work for a lot of different companies and a lot of different events. He doesn't even think it's a big deal.
Right.
Just because he's a Cincinnati State grad, a Wilmington College grad as well with me. I was in class with him. Like,
that's fun.
so like. He just calls me up and says, hey, man, we need some bandwidth. We need some help with this and this. I'm like, okay, sure. What kind of stuff is it? He said, motion graphics. I'm like, cool. And he told me what it was, and I was like, huh? Yeah, why are you asking me? Just tell me to do it.
Yeah.
It was a no-brainer.
Yeah.
But, yeah, absolutely, those relationships are
Attitude of gratitude.
Attitude of gratitude. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
And like attracts like. You know,
Yeah.
you open yourself up to opportunities, and then they come to you because you're looking for them.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
when you are looking for things, when you are open and you are ready, stuff comes to you, right? It's there. But a lot of times, you know, people get real closed off to those things out of fear, right?
Absolutely.
Out of fear. So you're
oh,
changing
sorry.
lives now. You're the
I hope
chasing the
so.
fears
I hope
away
so.
from these high school kids. So what's next for?
Oh, man. So right now I am actually getting my doctorate degree.
Wow.
EDD in educational leadership. It is through Miami University, the first college that I flunked out of.
Oh, I love this.
And
I love
full
this.
circle, man. No coincidences.
Suck it,
I'm
Miami.
gonna
How you
tell
like
y'all.
me now,
Yeah,
Miami?
you like
and in
them
fact,
apples.
I had to write a letter because my GPA was super low. Because,
Oh.
you know, 06, 07 was a really bad year for me at
Yeah.
Miami. And they keep receipts. You know, transcript rights. They keep receipts,
they
right?
do.
So I had to literally write, and it was a really good exercise for me because I had to reflect on who I was as a 19-year-old kid, and you know now I just turned 36, and I've done a lot, and I've realized a lot, but even putting in the vulnerable things like, hey, you know, I knew I made some really poor choices of not showing up to class, not doing things, picking work over school at the time. That money's not here anymore, you know. Those friends that I like skip with aren't here anymore, right? So I really got a chance to reflect, and of course they let me into the program, like the cohort, which was awesome. I was really worried they wouldn't, you know, and especially trying to further my career. It was like the best program around the area. They have a Voice of America campus that the EDD cohort is in, man, it's just I've been working and grinding on that, and then hopefully in a couple of years I'll be Dr. Moeung.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh,
I don't even know. Yeah, that sounds so weird. That
Moeung.
sounds so weird, don't it?
I love it.
Yeah.
And
The
career
doctor is in.
and career goals for you.
Yeah.
So EDD and
Yep.
then where?
Oh man, so I have a 4-year-old toddler. He's about to be 5. Shout out to Hendrix.
Great name. We didn't know that.
Yes, Jimmy. Yes, Jimmy Hendrix, and his middle name is Stark.
Okay.
Yes, Iron Man.
Oh, jeez.
So
I mean, you can't be Kimheart and not give your kid, you know.
Yeah, so Hendrix is my pride and joy. You know, I when I first had him, well, of course, his mother had him, of course, but when he first came to this world, I was like, wow, how the heck am I gonna pay for college?
Wow.
That's gonna be hard. So my career goal is essentially, I mean, I love Butler Tech School of the Arts. One of my long, lofty goals, you know, is to work full time at a college some point when he's close to getting into college, so I can help out with that a little bit. And then hopefully be a program chair or even a president of college.
Yes.
And then my landing spot, my holy grail, if you will, is going to be going to D.C. to make some policy change for actual education in America. There's a lot of stuff that goes on, a lot of things that are going on, and you know, whether you're on one side of the coin or the other. If kids are benefiting from some of the changes, that is where I have to stay with that, and that's my soapbox about that.
Yeah.
Well, and Dave Killen says that he's done when when his strap of his bag breaks. I saw it the other day.
Yeah,
it's got a little rip on it.
Yeah.
So just pay attention to his bag, and then you can come back here and be Dave Killen, which I love that
That'd
story.
be really big shoes to fill, and not because he's really tall and he's got big shoes, but man, I'm talking about making an impact on people's lives, and you know, it wasn't because he is a nice guy, but the thing I loved about Dave is because he put on his dad voice sometimes.
Yes.
For a lot of folks, and I don't think he knows he has a dad voice like that, right? But essentially,
No, he does.
he held people accountable out of love.
Yeah.
He's like, I know you can do it. You know, get your butt to class, right? Turn this in on time, right? It's very simple things that still resonate with me today. And man, I'm just so thankful for Cincinnati State. I sing so many praises to Cincinnati State. I refer a lot of kids to it. Like, have you been there yet? Have you seen what they do?
Yeah.
Especially at Butler Tech, we kind of do what y'all do in the high school
that's
level.
what I was thinking.
Exactly.
We have culinary, we have digital media.
Yeah.
You know, and again with career tech, there's that stigma that y'all get.
Yeah.
You know, like, hey, this kid goes to career tech because they can't cut it out at the traditional high school.
Right.
That's not the case. We get kids with associate's degrees out of that place, right? You know, and we have like robot dogs that we program and all these cool stuff that you would never even imagine. I get my hair cut there. I get my oil changed there. It's wild.
Nice. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and that's what I wanted to circle back to, which is a professor here at Cincinnati State once said, and that's what I was thinking about. You're at Butler Tech, and it's kind of like the Cincinnati State, you know. And they said, we're not here, you know, because we're the flunkies or we have Ivy League trained professors here. We're here because of who we want to work with.
Yes.
And you're at Butler Tech because of who you want to work with.
Absolutely. I tell people all the time, and I truly mean it. I don't think I could be a principal anywhere else, not to knock any other schools. I just think that there's this grit, and there's this tenacity, and there's this chip on every kid's shoulder that I love.
Yeah, we do too.
Yeah, man. Absolutely.
We do too. That's why we're here.
Yeah.
Well, I think a big takeaway from your story and other stories of students that we work with is sometimes you got to fail, right? Sometimes you got to fail because from the failure, you realize what you want, what you need, and how you got to get there. And if we never have those experiences, you know, we don't know the joy of you know, redemption and when we get there, you know, but that's a hard thing. And I hope that's something that, you know, clearly you had to clarify in your letter to get into your PhD cohort.
Man,
but but also to parents that, you know, that you are talking to at Butler Tech that, you know, let your kid try these things, try, fail, figure it out. You know, it's either, yes, I want to do this, or, this isn't for me, but you gotta try.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, you know, if anyone's listening to this and is a current student or a future student of Cincinnati State, I just want to say, like, I know it's tough. You might not know where the next meal is coming from, or you're going to pay, like, the internet bill or, you know, your car note. Your car might be breaking down. But just lean on the people that you meet. You can't meet people if you're not in a new location. Those people will help you along the way if you ask for help. And I felt like the culture at Cincinnati State specifically was that of community, truly community, no pun intended, but like truly community, that a community that was just willing to just look out after one another. And you build in, like, you know, you get to your classes quick here. Like, if you want to be an audio video production major, you get to your classes quick. You don't have to wait 2 years. You don't have to wait 2 years to get to your major. And it's pretty much built-in colleagues, man, like automatically off the rip. And I love it here.
The table is set.
The table is set. You better sit down and you better stay for dinner, man.
You better be hungry.
You better be hungry.
Come on,
Real.
we got you. Mama's cooking.
Man. Yes, come on.
Mama is cooking.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Kimheart Moeung, future Dr. Moeung. We can't wait. We're going to have you back on.
Speak it into existence, yes.
Speak it into existence.
You inspire me today. Thank you, Kim, for being here.
Oh, man, I appreciate you guys even doing this and giving people a chance to tell their stories. I'm sure I'm not the only story that's like this. I appreciate it.
We just Jayne and I we talked about it. We just couldn't. We would sit in Jayne's office and just between the two of us, you know, can you believe this? Like, and why are you and I the only ones hearing this incredible story? And so that's a inception for this. So thank you for telling your story today. We appreciate you.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
The FutureProof podcast is brought to you from Studio 459, up on the hill at Cincinnati State's main campus in Clifton. This podcast is produced in conjunction with the Cincinnati State Audio-Video Production Program, its students and faculty. Student producer is Carly Baker. If you like what you heard here, please hit the subscribe button. If you're an employer or potential student interested in the programs Cincinnati State has to offer, please visit cincinnatistate.edu.